Yeah,
that.
there
So
might be less D, but there's always going to be a need for T because I think the ideal solution is a hybrid solution where you never get rid of the grid and you always have some backup source tied to the grid, and therefore a need for the major transmission lines. But probably shifting most of that um, production and last mile consumption to microgrid environments, as many of them as possible, is probably the ideal solution.
So
the both
the solution is really the behind the transformer, not the behind the meter. Like, let's move this
Right.
idea of where your point ends and where it begins out to the local transformer of the building. That's potentially a solution here, is it not, Ellie?
Oh, absolutely. Behind the transformer, anything on the same feeder that never, and by the way, VNEM systems, it says 98% of them are all on the same feeder. So they're never even all the power that's generated locally is never even making it behind one feeder and one, major circuit.
Wait,
In
how much of a percentage? 98?
98%.
Holy crap. So basically, if we just said, let's make the transformer the quote unquote meter, this would solve this problem completely, would it not?
Absolutely. And again, to Karam's point, this is a both and conversation. We need both we need both centralized grid solutions like our T&D infrastructure, especially to wheel power between cities. And we can't have every single demand of electricity met with local generation. There will be some that's needed from the bulk power system, but the more and more we can deploy locally, the more cost effective it is and the more resilient and reliable it is for customers, as well as, again, there's enough market share and enough pie to go around. Our utilities, unfortunately, they don't want to share any of it, and that's by virtue of them being entitled 100-year-old monopolies, and the CPUC liking the devil they know. Their charter, as they call it, is to protect the public interest, so to speak, but it's really to regulate these electrical corporations, and therefore they don't want to open the market and empower a lot of new providers and solutions. They want to just regulate the devil they know. And unfortunately, in the 20th century, that worked when we had the one-way flows of power and we needed a lot of, big centralized generating stations to, get power to every customer when we didn't have electricity. But those 20th century goals have been met. We have new 21st century goals like decarbonization, like environmental justice, like resilience and highly reliable power. We need to be focused on these 21st century solutions, and therefore the regulatory model needs to adapt to the 21st century. But we are still operating very much in a 20th century paradigm. And that is one of the biggest problems. So it is very much a both and. There's enough here for everyone to play and everyone to win, and everyone to deploy these solutions, again, with maximum value to customers and ratepayers at an affordable cost. But we have entrenched interests that do not want to step aside and give up even 1 meter.
Ali, well said. Thank you very much for shedding light to this really complicated situation. So given what's going down in the process of this proposed decision, what do we need to do? What do citizens need to do? What is some call to action that we can end this call with?
I think the biggest thing is for anyone, whoever you are, getting engaged in letting your legislators know, the CPUC know by submitting a public comment to their docket card or calling the governor at 916-445-2841 and make your voice heard. Any of these channels, it only takes 30 seconds to a minute to let the state of California and the policymakers and regulators know that this proposed decision would eviscerate the value proposition of solar for multifamily buildings, renters, as well as schools, farms, and small businesses. Anyone that's a renter in this state, which is, again, 45% of our state's population. If you're a renter, engage your state representatives, the PUC, or the governor, and let them know that this proposed decision needs to be rescinded and an alternate issued that prioritizes the needs of renters, expanding access to solar, and making sure that everyone gets a fair deal and fair access to clean energy in this 21st century.
Yeah, Karam, let's have those links below in the show notes so that people can call that governor's office or make that submission digitally. This
Yeah.
sounds like it's such a crazy thing that
Yeah.
this is happening. Let's get it solved.
Thank you. Well, Ali, thank you for speaking truth to power in this session, as somebody needs to do that. And
Thank you,
I
Ali.
think
This was
you've done a great
fantastic.
job.
Thanks, Jerem. Thanks, John. It was great having this discussion with you guys. Look forward to more in the future. And thanks everybody for tuning in today.
We will. Thank you.